What's the biggest risk you think you've ever taken? It could be writing or in life, like wherever you want to take it.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure I've ever been asked that question, actually. Yeah, so give me a second here. Might be dead in awkward silence while I'm thinking. Biggest risk. Golly. I would I would say, and it worked out because fate worked out. I would say my first headship, okay, before the one I described to you, uh, back in the mid to late 90s, I was teaching English in Miami at a terrific school called Ransom Everett. So I taught English there. I was the head boys varsity basketball coach, and I loved it. You've read some of my short stories, you know that that's popped up in a couple of short stories.
Mm-hmm.
Zach has that background. Same thing with teachers. Same thing with headmaster and the good kind and the not so good kind, like in Dead Poet Society,
Sure.
I was offered the headship of a small K through 8, kindergarten through 8th grade private school in Durham, North Carolina, where I grew up. And it wasn't very established. It was only 7 years. There were no guarantees of the tons of income or building it into this, this great school with a high school and everything else. You could have some grandiose ideas. I was in a very good situation. Yeah, I'd say the biggest risk was leaving a really good situation for me professionally that I had great fun with every day. I mean, I would literally jump out of bed every for sort of an unknown. I, when you're on a faculty as a teacher, everybody's your teammate.
Sure.
When you head a school, they're not your teammates anymore. They really aren't going to be. You are the boss now. For me, that was a risk. I was like, I could be very good at this. I'm not so sure I'm going to have fun.
Sure.
And I didn't find it fun. I was good at it, but didn't find it fun. When I took the position I've described already, heading up pre-K through 12, I didn't think to myself, this is going to be fun. I thought to myself, that's the money that I need to make as an educator because I have extreme preemie children that are a little less than a year old, were born 1 pound 10 ounces each, and with issues that would need to be dealt with medically for possibly for years. And it's all gone so beautifully. And that risk that I took, which did not produce a very happy professional life, did produce my family. Because if that was not the road I had taken, I never would have met my wife, Stacy. And we're 22 years now into a wonderful marriage. She's an incredible person. And I would not have these 3 incredibly beautiful children. Wouldn't exist if I had stayed. Maybe somebody else would exist, but they wouldn't. And that's everything to me.
Right.
So taking the biggest risk of my life, which as a bachelor at the time, I only had myself to think about. So it was a risk. It was a risk to me,
Sure.
And not really liking, running a prep school. Like you are around some very spoiled, entitled people as far as some of your paying constituency. They're there.
Sure.
And turned out to be the greatest risk I ever took, even though the day-to-day of that job wasn't as enjoyable as teaching and coaching.
Right.
I thank you for the question because I never really kind of sorted through all of that, but I would say that was the one.
Right. No, thank you for that. I think it's really lovely too, just the sacrifice, right? I think there's that I just need to be happy at all times, right? And then not realizing, sometimes if you sacrifice that day-to-day kind of happiness for the greater good, you're going to have a more fulfilling, life. And that's going to make you a lot happier in the long run. But that's
Yes.
kind of the same thing, you know.
And it has very much so.
Yeah, right.
And because the other part of that is where I'm just lucky as a writer.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is an MD. I was able to leave the school world
Sure.
because she, on day one as a doctor, made more than I'd ever made as an educator.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I could start Short Story America. That is
Yeah.
when I started Short Story America.
Okay.
Short Story America went live in January of 2010. So coming up on the 15-year anniversary in a couple of months, you know,
Right.
and reminds me I need to think of some way to celebrate that. Maybe enough writers drinking whiskey with a few Short Story America writers. Since
Oh, for sure.
you're one of them, we could maybe
Yeah.
celebrate the 15-year anniversary. You know,
Oh yeah, no, we'll talk about it off air. We can definitely.
maybe we could get on one screen. So
Yeah, that'd be super fun. I've had so many of them. So I mean,
yeah.
we could bring on even more. But yeah, that'd be great. I've said this on the show, but I always say that you're the patron saint of the show because especially starting off, I had this idea for the show, but I didn't have the Rolodex. You know, for young people, Rolodex is your phone, like where all the phone numbers were. It was a paper thing you spun around. But I didn't have the tons of authors to do it. So you really were super instrumental in getting me started. And that's why so much of especially, and they still kind of trickle in here or there, but so much of the beginning shows were Short Story America,
Right.
alumni. And then now I always ask everyone, I joke it's 6 degrees of Kevin's bacon because I always just ask like, oh, you know anyone? And they give me people. So now there's all these different, kind of branches. But that would be super fun. I would love to do a Short Story America episode.
Let's plan on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for that. So it was the biggest risk that turned out beautifully. I mean, wonderfully. What do you think's the biggest failure you've ever had?
Wow. Again, there are plenty of them, you know, so I have to pick one.
you and me.
I do not know how it would be possible to go through life without them. You better not.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, you learn from the biggest failure. I think it would be one that I learned from the first time that I failed at something due to a colossal lack of effort and commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Was my freshman year in college. This was a terrible failure. I took what I thought would be an easy class for my first term in college at a really good school, Davis College. I took astronomy as one of my courses for my first term because I thought it'd be easy. Oh, sure. We're going to get telescopes.
We're going to look at the stars. Yeah.
I had no idea how much physics is in an astronomy class. I was a student in physics in high school. You know, I wasn't a STEM kid or anything. Not really. You know, I was a humanities kid, my whole life. I thought it would be easy, and that's why I took the class.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an immature decision. But I took a class in college for one reason, and that's that I thought it was to be easy. That's the one class in college that I flunked. I didn't come close to passing the class. I didn't go to class often enough because it was not what I had expected. You know, you're doing physics equations, calculating all kinds of. I didn't learn enough to even talk about it intelligently now.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the professor's fault. It was my fault, 100%. And as a result of getting big fat F in a college class, my first term, my other grades were A's and B's. I flunked that one. And I think the reason that I would say that was my biggest failure was that number one, there was no external contributing factor to my failure. And fortunately, I learned at the age of 18 that I flunked this class because I let myself down, I let my professor down, I let my parents down. You know, they're paying tuition. You know, I flunked because I didn't show up. And It's been a long time since then. And I don't think that I have failed to show up, metaphorically speaking,
Sure.
since then. It sure is a hell of a lot harder to write short stories and novels and to teach world literature to seniors in prep school than it is just to sit in an astronomy class and do the
Fair.
work. But
Uh-huh.
when I was there, I just sat there and didn't take notes and was disappointed that the class wasn't fun. And I flunked the daylights out of it. Well, that same professor taught a humanities class my sophomore year, and I got an A. And he must have said, what happened to this kid? What happened to this kid was that he was willing to give me a big red F and not cut me any slack.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, yeah, that was my biggest failure because of my own contribution to that failure. And it was also my most valuable failure.
Sure. Sure. No, thanks for that. Yeah, I think that's, I think I like talking. I have a weird fascination with failure. I don't know if it's weird, but I'm just a weird guy generally. But because that's where there's such an opportunity to learn and to grow from it. Right? Like success, you can learn from success, but so often we just feel good and then and you just take it from there. But sometimes failing at something and then having someone hold you accountable to it, giving you the yes versus just going, well, I know you probably struggled because you're not used to the physics and, giving you kind of a get out of jail free card. It wouldn't have taught you anything. Instead, sometimes you need that kind of tough love of getting, big scarlet letter on your report card, so.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, not the real scarlet letter. That was kind of awful, practice back in the day. But
But my letter was better deserved than Hester Prynne's was. So society wasn't doing anything to me. I just flunked the hell out of that class.
Right. Thanks for that. I wondered. So, what I find interesting sometimes, right? And I don't love the term genre because I think I think it's just that's just the place where you put things on a bookshelf, right? Or in Amazon category that you filter through, right? But going to so reciprocity being a thriller. Thanks everybody for checking out this clip of Writers Drinking Whiskey. If you'd like to catch the full episode, click the link up here, and please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and check out our members only section. Cheers.